Seconds.
Robert Famiano, Seattle teacher. The district says it wants to attract and retain high-quality teachers, but this performance plan will do just the opposite. Consider the scenario in which you have a choice of 2 classrooms for your first grader. Choice A, the teacher has 34 years experience, 2 degrees in education, won the Presidential Award for Excellence in Math and Science teacher, authored 7 elementary math books and several CD-ROM games, published an article on pre-algebra thinking in the National Journal, and won words of praise from the superintendent at a Seattle School Board meeting in 2004 after he spontaneously visited the teacher's classroom. Or choice B, a classroom where fidelity of implementation of everyday math is the goal. And what if choice A had devised a reading program which was cited as an exemplary method for teaching special ed students in a University of Washington publication called Guides to Intervention in Reading? And what if this same teacher's program was also cited 5 years later as a practical solution for teaching English language learners in the book Brain Literacy for Educators and Psychologists? Is that the type of teacher you would want to place your child with? Or would you seek choice B, someone who will faithfully read the script of programs such as Reading Workshop? And what if this same choice A teacher had, for 10 straight years prior to his involuntary transfer for whistleblowing, produced whole class 30-minute musicals, including costumes and props, and then took it on the road to other schools? Would you think this teacher used poor professional judgment because he set aside scripted lessons to make time for the arts? Would you privately want your own child to have received such memorable experiences of singing, dancing, and acting in front of whole schools? Well, under this performance management plan, you won't have a choice A. It will be scripted and canned programs for all. That is, unless you're one of the wealthy schools, a lucky prize winner under the DeBell Amendment. Clearly, none of the professional contributions of teacher A could happen under this plan, where both principals and teachers are deprofessionalized and pressured to act against their better instincts of teaching. Teaching is partly craft, partly science, and lots of passion. This management plan denies there's an art of teaching, and this erodes teacher enthusiasm. This plan cannot accommodate, nor does it even want, any such creative or high-quality professionals. So in the interest of transparency, I ask the district to publicly restate their goal to attract and retain passionless automatons and whipping boys. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Famiano. Dora Taylor, Chris Jackins, and Chris Stewart.
Good evening. This is regarding Performance Management Policy 2.0 and how it ties into Assessment Program Policy C4. $4.3 million was approved when the levy passed to implement MAP testing in all of our schools. It is my understanding that this will be the test used to assess a student's performance and be a large part of rating the effectiveness of teachers and principals. According to Performance Management Policy 2.0, this could result in removing teachers or the principal or closing a school. The implementation plan will cost, as we now know, $3.1 million. At the same time, due to a lack of funds, schools are now being forced to make decisions on losing teachers or other resources, and many of us will be losing our counselors. In doing this, classroom sizes will increase, putting more of the load on teachers, and schools will no longer be able to provide support for students in need of personal counseling. This is not strategic planning. Our students are to perform on a test that appears to be flawed within a context of even larger class sizes with little to no outside support to deal with family, financial, or community issues, and our teachers and principals will be evaluated within this system. Regarding the MAP test, there are problems with it. First, the students know how to manipulate the test so they can get through it more quickly. The kindergarten students apparently like certain sounds that some of the animals make on the test, and will hit that button several times. If you read the Safe Seattle Schools blog, you will see questions that parents have in terms of the results of the test. No one seems to understand what the test is to evaluate, and one parent has tried to get answers to a question regarding the test, but to no avail. Also, there are many variables that are associated with each student when they take the exam, and yet something as crucial as the fate of a teacher or principal's career or that of the school is to be determined by these test scores. I would recommend that before spending money or rolling out an exam that is not ready for use, that it be revised. In the meantime, I would also recommend that there be open meetings with parents, SPS staff, and Mr. Bernstein, who is the director of REA and manages the assessment and evaluation of students within SPS, to answer questions about this test. It is that important. The ideal solution would be to hold off on rolling out this match test, allow time to work out the flaws, rework this performance management policy, and use the money instead to fund our schools and keep our counselors so that our students will be able to achieve and succeed. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Taylor. Chris Jackins, Chris Stewart, and Susan Stearns.
My name is Chris Jackins, box 84063, Seattle 98124. On the approval of the Internet Use Policy, these policy changes are aimed at protecting students from unsafe online activity at school. I asked the district to evaluate the effectiveness of online computer use at school. If the Internet was an errant can opener, the number of reported ongoing problems with its use would have led to its being recalled long ago. On the performance management policy, 3 points. Number 1, the concept of earned autonomy is only applied to high-performance schools with no significant achievement gaps between high poverty and low poverty students. Gaps between racial and other groups are not mentioned. Number 2, an amendment specifies that autonomy should include waivers to allow the use of non-district approved curriculum. I asked that the ability to obtain such waivers be extended to all schools. Alternate materials may be part of what allows a school to be successful. Number 3, the measures proposed for low-growth schools include changing school staff and leadership and closing and/or reconstituting schools. If the same philosophies were applied to the PTA, low-growth schools would have their PTAs replaced. That would ignore parents' connection with their own children, just as closing a school ignores the connection of staff and the community to the school. I ask that you vote no on this item. On the lease contract for the Science Materials Center, the district plans to spend $580,000 to lease outside space. It seems the district has significant unused space at its headquarters building. On the $600,000 Nathan Hale Greenhouse construction contract, this project was not approved in the BEXC budget. The board should instead evaluate transferring these funds to the operating budget. Such a transfer is allowed in the form of capital interest. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jackins.